Just a couple of days away from the Cardinals home opener against the Carolina Panthers, baby. Welcome back to Cardinals Daily. I'm Eddie Law. Hit that sub, hit that bell, send that like, and let's get right to it. Sunday, 1:05 p.m. local time. Arizona kicks off against Carolina in the home opener. I like to hit in a couple matches before we get to the game here, and of course I'll be in attendance. But first one I want to talk about here because it's important because I haven't talked about it really because I don't really like to talk about quarterback versus quarterback type of matchups because they don't actually play each other on the field like in front of each other, right? But either way, we got to touch on it. Anyway, I saw a graphic that said Bryce Young is the shortest offensive player in the NFL, which shocked me because even next to, or even compared to Bryce, Kyler looks like a toddler running around the field on Sundays. So it made me laugh a little bit. And then they had Calais Campbell as the tallest defensive player in the NFL at 6'8". All right, that's what we're doing. Now, hopefully, we get a sack and we can see how hilarious that looks. Imagine Campbell looks like he's chasing around a toddler. That'd be hilarious. But anyway, all right, let's be honest, right? NFL quarterback play drives everything, right? So this Sunday we got Kyler Murray and Bryce Young squaring off, and what could be a real litmus test for both of these teams, really overall. On one side, Kyler, seventh year, coming off a Week 1 win where he wasn't flashy, but he was efficient, right? 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. He looked comfortable joining Drew Petzing's system, as awful as Petzing's play calling was. He still ran it all right. On the other side, Bryce Young, 2023 number 1 overall pick, who struggled badly in his opener, turned the ball over 3 times. He looked unsettled. He looked kind of nervous. Happy feet and all that. The story here is simple. 2 quarterbacks, 2 very different points in their careers, but both with something to prove still. So when you look at Kyler, what stands out, right? Seems like he's evolving a little bit. We know he has the legs. We know he can improvise, but the knock has always been that can he sit in the pocket and win from there. And against New Orleans last week, he showed a little more patience. He didn't panic when the first week wasn't there, and that's exactly what you want if you're a Cardinal fan. So, Cardinals don't really need Kyler to throw, for 350 yards every Sunday. They need him to protect the ball, not turn it over, extend the play when necessary, and cash it in the red zone. That's what he did Week 1, and the encouraging part is he did it with that elite receiver play. This offense, let's be real, right? This offense is still looking for its go-to guy. We were all still hoping it was Marvin Harrison Jr. As of right now, still Trey McBride. So we'll see what Marvin Harrison Jr. has to say about that as the season goes. But obviously, I also leans on the offensive line and on Kyler. And Kyler still managed to take what the defense gave him last week. So if he strings together, games like that, it's not really just a good season for the Cardinals. It's proof that Kyler, he's still growing as a quarterback, and that can just shut up about the whole, when he gets it, because I've been ragging on that point all off season, and it's really irritating. It's annoying and it's old, but if the shoe fits, like I can't knock Kyler if he's actually growing. So now in contrast, Bryce Young, the guy has all the tools, right? He's accurate. He has football IQ, pretty solid. And he showed a lot of poise out of Alabama. It's hard to play for Nick Saban. People have said it all the time. And he pulled it off and he did really well. But, the reality is in the NFL, right, defenses they're complex and ruthless. And they study tape like psychopaths, right? In Jacksonville, disguised coverages, they blitzed at the right times. And Bryce never really got comfortable. And that's not unusual for a guy for a young guy, right? But the question now is, can he adjust quickly? And he has to do it quick against us, of course. He's got weapons. T-Mac outside, the rookie out of Arizona. Chuba Hubbard in the backfield. But if he's rattled early against us, it could snowball, right? It could be a bad day for Panther fans. In this Cardinals defense under Jonathan Gannon, we love to send pressure. We disguise the looks. We really are a funky, kind of confusing defense. I can't tell. Sometimes I can't tell the offense is confused or we're goddamn confused, but still. Bryce is going to see different, fronts, rotating safeties, and that's where the rookie quarterbacks tend to make mistakes, or the young quarterbacks tend to make mistakes. He's not really a rookie anymore, obviously. But the margin for error is pretty thin for him. So, storyline here isn't just Kyler versus Bryce. It's experience versus inexperience. Kyler's been through the wars. He's seen the 49ers defense twice a year. He's played in big games. He knows what it takes. Bryce, meanwhile, he's still trying to learn on the fly. As rookie quarterbacks, they kind of throw him in way too early. I've always made the argument that you should have your quarterback sit behind a veteran for at least a season, 2 if possible, to learn, right? And on a very, very side note, Shador Sanders has that opportunity to learn behind Joe Flacco, right? And when he gets his opportunity, I doubt it'll be him in Cleveland, but when he gets his opportunity, I think he's going to do really well. But that's kind of what you want, right? What you should want with a rookie quarterback, but people are too damn impatient. So is what it is. Cardinals are going to test him early. They're going to force him to second and longs and see if he can process quickly. So if Kyler plays clean football again, Arizona's in a great spot, pretty much set. If Bryce can shake off that week 1 disaster and settle in, Carolina has a shot to flip the script, man. But this matchup might actually decide the game, which is hilarious. But in my mind, it's hilarious. Whichever quarterback looks more comfortable, their team probably wins. So keep your eyes on every snap from these two quarterbacks. Kyler's trying to cement his status as franchise cornerstone and kind of trying to quiet the doubters and the people that want him out of here, which every season has been getting louder and louder and louder. And Bryce is trying to prove he belongs to Carolina's future. We saw him. He started his rookie season. He got pulled with like 6 games in, something like that. He got benched. So it's two totally different arcs colliding on Sunday, and that's what makes it fascinating in terms of the actual matchup itself, and of course, who's going to be able to make those adjustments to from last week and be more effective, right? So another matchup I want to look at here is the Panthers run offense versus Arizona run defense. One of the biggest chess matches this Sunday. It's gonna be on the ground, right? Carolina's run game against Arizona's run defense. Forget the quarterbacks for a second. This is where the game could be won or lost. Maybe even more than the quarterbacks, right? Carolina wants to run the ball. Arizona wants to prove they can stop it. It's pretty simple. That's it. So against Jacksonville last week, the Panthers were kind of embarrassed. They let the Jags roll up. They let the Jags roll 200 rushing yards on them, and it completely dictated the game. So that kind of stat line tells you two things. One, Carolina's front seven isn't gap sound yet, so we can run on them. And two, if they can't fix it, it won't matter what Bryce Young does. Chuba Hubbard's still there, or a workhorse. He runs hard. He can wear down a defense. And with a rookie quarterback, Carolina's desperate to establish a run game early, just to take the pressure off of Bryce. So now against New Orleans, the Cardinals actually held up pretty good against their ground attack. And there was a couple chunk plays we didn't really like from Miller, from Alvin Kamara and everything, but they weren't perfect, but they tackled in space all right, and they forced Spencer Rattler to try and beat him on the air, and that's the formula that you want against Carolina. Make him one dimensional. Dare Bryce Young to beat us with his arm, and the key guys to watch are the linebackers, right? For us, Zaven Collins, Mac Wilson Sr., Buda Baker, of course. If they're flying downhill and wrapping up, and that's that really gives us a leg up in this matchup. So here's the bottom line: if Carolina can control the line of scrimmage and Hubbard gets rolling, which I'm just repeating what the old ball coaches have been saying, that opens up the whole playbook. But if Arizona stops their run early and forces Bryce Young into second and long, right? If we stop their run game, we put some points up on them. It's going to force Bryce Young to make some really tough throws, or at least attempt them. Get him to second and long. And the crowd in Glendale's going to get loud. I don't think there's a lot of Carolina people out here. There's plenty, but not a lot. And it's not we're playing the the Steelers or the Chiefs, where everyone just bandwagons and fills up State Farm Stadium, and makes us seem like the away crowd. But it's going to get loud in there. And once the mistakes start going snowballing for Bryce Young, it's just downhill from there for him. So the match was not glamorous, but it's going to quietly dictate how this game flows, I think. And we need to get through that significant, the historical significance, right? Let's not sugarcoat it. All right, we've been Carolina stepchild for the last few years. So because sometimes the past lingers over a matchup more than the actual matchup, the present one, then we realize. And for Arizona Cardinals, that history hasn't been kind when it comes to the Panthers. That the Panthers are 15-6 all time against Arizona. Here's the kicker. 15-6 is pretty bad. But here's the kicker. They've won 7 of the last 8 against us. That includes playoff heartbreak, regular season upsets, and games where the Panthers just seem to have Cardinals' number. It's one of those weird NFL quirks, right? Every team is a boogeyman, and for Arizona, it seems to be Carolina. And they're not even in our division. Like, you would think that would be like the Niners or somebody. No, it's the freaking Panthers. So let's dig into why this matters. If you're a player in the Cardinals locker room, the media is going to remind you all week, the Panthers own the series. They've been whooping your butt for the last few years. And fans don't forget either, especially in playoff eliminations. Those scars run deep. We still remember that, Kurt Warner versus Cam Newton back in the day. And, yeah, we get embarrassed. Now, players and coaches, they're going to tell you, every year's a new year. Every game is its own battle. Yeah, technically that's true. But, football's psychological. When you drop 7 of the last 8 to the same team, even if the rosters are completely different, there's a weird mental hurdle that kind of sticks with the culture of the team. And, Carolina walks in believing, yeah, we always beat these guys. And Arizona's thinking, we can't let it happen again. So the pressure builds or especially if Carolina jumps out to an early lead. But here's where things get interesting. For once, Arizona has momentum. They want to know after a gritty week 1 win against the Saints, Kyler looks sharp, sharp enough. And the defense forced a turnover here. And there should have been a bunch, but, thank you, refs. And there's an energy around this team that feels different from last year, from years past. It's a different kind of culture it feels that Gannon brought in. Carolina, on the other hand, looked flat against Jacksonville. So, Bryce Young was shaky. The defense got gashed around. They got beat up on the ground. And suddenly all that offensive optimism in Charlotte took a hit. They came in with a lot of hype. for themselves. So that's exactly the kind of moment Arizona has to seize on. And history says the fold against Carolina. History says they fold against Carolina, but the present says they're stronger, more confident team heading into week 2. You gotta just erase the ghosts. Just get past the ghosts, get past the old stuff, and focus on 2025. So this isn't just another game on the schedule. I know it seems like it because week 2 and they're not Panthers are not good. They're not great either. They're not great. They're not good. And it seems like we should be able to just destroy them, but it's a chance to bury a ghost. If you start off 2-0, one of those wins coming against the teams that have been whooping us for the last 8 years, that helps change the culture, right? It helps change the narrative, I guess, for lack of a better term. So it tells the locker room we're not the same old Cardinals, which hopefully is true. Flip it the other way. If the Cardinals lose again, at home in the opener on top of that, the Panthers look, against a team that's not good, suddenly the talk is here we go again, right? Same story, different year. That's the weight of history. That's the danger of letting one team become your kryptonite. So Sunday isn't just Kyler versus Bryce or run defense with Trevor Hubbard. It's Arizona versus its own history. Can the Cardinals rewrite the script and start 2-0 for the first time since 2015? Or will the Panthers remind us that some curses are harder to break than others, and it's the same old Cardinals football? We'll have to wait and see here. But of course, probably the biggest thing in this game for me is turnovers. What exactly are we going to look at? One stat to keep an eye on Sunday, right? Obviously, the turnover battle. It doesn't always make the headlines, but in this matchup between the Cardinals and the Panthers, it might just be the single biggest deciding factor, right? So let's start with Arizona. Against New Orleans last week, Kyler Murray didn't light up the box score, but what he did do was protect the football, no turnover. So when you're playing in tight games that early in the season, that's the difference between winning ugly and losing ugly. Kyler took the defense, what the defense gave him, didn't force throws, ran when he needed to, and he would run first down out of bounds, save himself a hit, right, and stop the clock. So that's the efficiency exactly that you want, and that Jonathan Gannon wants from his offense. So compare that to Carolina. Bryce Young had 3 turnovers against last week. Each one was pretty ugly. The Jags capitalized on those and control the flow of the game. So that's what happens when you put pressure on that guy. So make him try to do too much. It helps. If Arizona can create that same chaos on Sunday, disguise coverage. I'm sorry. Get home with a pass rush. Discourage Bryce Young from running, honestly, and make Bryce Young second guess himself. It's you could put the Panthers in a hole they can't really get themselves out of. So bottom line, protect the ball, Cardinals. Protect the ball in the week they did in week 1. Force even 1 or 2 mistakes from Carolina. Should be a pretty comfortable win for the Cardinals at home. But on the other hand, Carolina does it to us. They set up Bryce with short fields. We're looking at a dogfight. So in a game between two teams who are trying to figure out their identities and everything, the turnover margin is a hidden stat here that might tell the whole story. So there you go. And then just a real quick one. Last night's Thursday night's game against between the Commanders and the Packers. That was wild. I think people starting to think that the defenses have figured out Jaden Daniels, and I've seen a lot of people talking about Jaden Daniels now, talking about he's overrated and stuff like that. I'm not on the get rid of Kyler bandwagon, but hey man, Washington fans, y'all want to get frosty? How about a swap? You get Kyler and a guy that's gonna a contract gonna expire next season. We get a young guy with actual potential that we could mold into a franchise quarterback. Anybody? Yeah, I didn't think so. I just thought I would throw it out there. I think that'd be kind of fun. I've actually put Jaden Daniels on the Cardinals on Madden, and I enjoy that kind of stuff. So it's fun. It's fun to imagine things happening and changing things up a little bit. So anyway, that's gonna do it for this episode of the Cardinals Daily. I'm Eddie Law. Don't forget to hit that sub, hit that bell, hit that like, leave a comment. I'll see you all tomorrow, just a couple days away from week 2, Cardinals home opener. Go Cards.